Okay, hi folks. So I got a question today on Twitter, and it prompted me to make a video I'd been wanting to make for a minute. The question was, what else are you working on with your Green Lantern stuff? So I figured I'd show you Darkseid. I know, that doesn't make much sense. But I want to explain the journey I was on. So I have had this Darkseid for a long time, and I quite like the look of the Big Fig, and it made me want to get more Big Figs, but of course with Green Lantern stuff they don't make anything, so I got Bootleg Kilowog. I've had him for a long time. And as I've been going and expanding and trying to make more random obscure Green Lanterns, I decided to use Kilowog as a basis and try to make Volk. So this is what I came up with. I posted a couple of in-progress pictures over the months on my community post, but no one really pays attention to those, which is okay. So my idea was I'd rip off Kilowog's head, so you can see the seam of his head comes right there at the chest and just pops right off. And then I will show a picture of some of the in-progress stuff. What I did is I took a yellow Technic axle and implanted it in the head and then put clay in around it. Let that dry. Just Play-Doh, actually, not clay, but whatever. Let that dry so it was really in there, and then I built up green stuff around it and painted it brown to be the head, the volcano part of Volk, and let this orange translucent brick be in there as the lava. And I also embedded a couple of different studs so I could attach transparent elements and make them like have fire and smoke coming out of it. Unfortunately, as you can see, that process kind of failed. Everything was great, the green stuff applied, and the paint job actually turned out really well on the green stuff. It does quite look and have a similar feel, not the same feel, but a similar feel to Lego. But unfortunately, in painting it, I didn't do a very good job masking off, or regardless, the masking failed, and I had drips of paint go down and get all over this guy. And in trying to rub that off, I used the paint mixed with like the adhesive from the tape. And so I tried using Goo Gone, and that started eliminating some of the print, and actually because this is not proper Lego, it started to eat some of the plastic and melt it. So this was a absolutely gutting fail, and I think it's important to show our failures and our processes. So I wanted to show that off because it inspired me to try to be more creative on the Lego proper front. So I'll put that Volk there, and then I'll show you what I actually ended up making. This Volk. Don't talk to me or my son ever again. I am immensely happy with how this version of Volk turned out. I actually need to remove you from the thing because Volk is so dang big. So he is incredibly flexible. I got very inspired by a video produced by Andrew on the Scrapbox. And what he talked about was the idea that Lego might be phasing out Big Figs and just going to more brick-built solutions. And as I watched him explain some of that, I kind of looked at some of the video he was making and build suggestions he'd made, and I was quite impressed, and it inspired me to try to attempt that with Volk here. And honestly, this is my first try at this concept, and I think it came out really well. Now obviously his head is just ginormous, so let me take that off and I'll show off the head individually. So I'm still using that transparent neon orange round 2x2 brick as the basis, and I've just built around it all over the place here and added these other transparent orange and transparent neon orange fire elements to act as lava flows. If they make this piece in transparent orange, I'd be so happy. A little 1x2 curved slope. But I just added these as like lava flows and the ice cream technique for smoke, and I'm very, very happy with that. So that just plops on to a little Technic stud brick, and he can turn his head fairly easily. Every time I pick him up, most of the time his head ends up falling off, but build's reasonably solid for as weird as it is. So that's not been a huge problem. I know how to handle them. I did a custom print of the Green Lantern symbol on or a custom decal, I guess I should say, on just a round 1x1 plate. But ultimately what I want to show off here is the flexibility. So I used the Mixel ball joint sockets to get his arms in there, and then he gives him really cool flexible arms. I made him these cool constructs using the transparent green fire pieces, so I was quite pleased with that. And then he's got kneecap and ankle articulation as well as thigh. So he's pretty dang posable. I could get like kind of a flight pose here for him and just get him going, or maybe like a cool karate pose. Hacha! Put that one in there and then put the head back on. And yeah, you get Volk striking a karate pose, and he stays together really well. So I'm quite pleased with how Volk came together. And as I said, this really inspired me to start doing a lot of these Big Fig brick built versions. Now obviously Volk is really, really massive because of his head, but if I take the head off and I just replace it with like a round 2x2 brick, I don't have one on hand, so I'll just use a round 1x1 because it looks silly, and I put him next to his brother, or let's go with a proper Lego Big Fig. Obviously he's a lot taller, but the thing is, let me take these constructs off too, just because they make it kind of hard to pose him properly. I think the thing is that's really cool, I tried my bestest to give him the same silhouette option, I guess you'd say, of the Big Fig. So he's still a little bit bigger, but not by much. Really what you're just looking at is the fact that the legs match pretty closely here. If I put them side by side, you've got a pretty good amount of height similarity. The knees at roughly the same spot, the hips are roughly at the same spot, they just connect a little bit taller. So I've been trying to work my brain on how to get a little bit of a smaller hip connection, but still allow me to have a lot of that posability. But the chest, like if I just line them up side by side, the chest is pretty close, pretty one-to-one. Back to back maybe. You can see some pretty close similarities there in the chest. And so I was really pleased with myself for this construction. I'll go ahead and open up his back so you can see how this works. These are, oh, he's falling apart. These are some simple 2x3 wedge plates. Inside I've got the 2 headlight bricks, and I've connected them with a bar just to give them a little bit more stability, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. 2 headlight bricks connected to a 1x2 plate. Take an arm off too. Whoa, he's falling apart. Connected to a 1x2 plate, connected to the other side of the chest. The hips are connected with a 2x4 bracket, along with this special ball joint piece and just this curved slope to keep everything together. It would be a little bit cleaner if I could avoid that curved slope, but yeah. The headlight bricks have these curved 1x3 slopes attached to them, and then I've got the just Technic brick with a pin and the plate with the sockets for the ball joints. And that's more or less the basis of where I've started with these guys. Which makes you wonder, what do you mean where you've started? Well, I decided to go a tiny bit bigger. You may have seen this video pop up on my channel. It's been doing pretty good on views. So here's my custom Doomsday mock. Again, just created a custom decal for the face. The light's really bright on him because of all that white. Custom decal for the face, but he's got quite a big size difference. Even the Big Fig only comes up to about his waist. But a lot of that's because of how I have him posed currently. The thing that I thought was more interesting as a comparison is it's not super out of scale with what LEGO has done. Again, so this is the Killer Croc from the LEGO Batman movie. And if I put him at his maximum height, he's really not super far off with, what I've done here for this Doomsday build. Doomsday, I kind of allowed myself to go a little bit heavier with. But I wanted to compare those size-wise. A little bit taller, but part of that's the way I've got him posed. He's not trying to strike this Big Fig super crouched pose. He's kind of intentionally standing upright a little bit more than the Big Figs are here, just because I like this pose of like holding Superman back as he's flying toward him and getting ready to punch the shit out of him. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how this guy came together. And if you didn't see my video on him, I do have the instructions posted on Rubricable, so you can build this Doomsday and kind of piece together how to do the Big Fig basis from what I've shown you so far today. So that one's neat. And then the other one I've worked on physically so far is the Manhunter. I'm working on a big, a Titan scale, or not Titan, Ultra Manhunter. I worked on some minifigs a couple weeks ago, and I'm just playing around with different ideas of how to do the hips right now. So this one I've used the little bar plate thing as a basis for the hip. I don't know if I love it or not, and for the knees, instead of clips, I've used the hinge joints and ball joints for the feet still. But yeah, there's my Ultra Manhunter using a bunch of old M-Tron parts. Just completely different design for the shoulders too. I felt more comfortable going with this because it's a mechanical character. But yeah, just playing around with things. Now I've done some digital designs. I'll show you part of the physical testing I did for one of those, and then I'll put some of the digital designs I've done up on the screen. I'm working on a design for Parasite right now. Since I did Doomsday, I decided to do another Superman villain. So this is the all the pieces I've used for the head, except for the mouth itself. But like this would be the face right here. I've got a custom decal I've made for the eyes, and I wanted to use these pieces to give him more of that like glutton look that he has in the All-Star Superman movie. And so I just wanted to test out how these connections work, since this is really loose in here, but it's holding pretty well and I shouldn't have to worry too much about it. So yeah, I just wanted to show off my Big Fig work. So I'll show the digital design of Parasite, which will still need some decals made once it's physically produced. And then the other Big Fig character I've tried making digital design for is Man-Bat, so I'll show you that one too. And those will be eventually made here on the channel. But since someone asked what I've been up to, Volk really kind of went on a journey and I'm quite pleased with how he all came together. So let's rebuild Volk real quick so he can have his moment in the sun. And, you know, I'm not against doing illegal techniques or physically modifying Lego if that's what you want to do. But sometimes, you know, maybe trying to test your creativity and push yourself is worth it, because this created a lot of inspiration for me and I had a lot of fun making all these characters, and I keep coming up with different ideas, different designs to do. So thanks so much for watching. That's all I've got for you. Let me know if you think any of these designs are fantastic, or if you'd want the instructions for them, and maybe I'll make them happen. Alright, bye folks.